The morning started like any other in Green Hill Zone, with Sonic the Hedgehog performing his daily ritual of consuming 17 chili dogs for breakfast while running counterclockwise around a loop-de-loop exactly 43 times. This particular routine had developed over years of careful optimization. Any fewer than 17 dogs left him sluggish. Any more than 43 loops made him dizzy. And running clockwise was simply unthinkable for reasons he could never quite articulate. What Sonic didn't know was that Dr. Eggman had been studying these habits with the obsessive dedication of a doctoral thesis advisor, tracking a particularly elusive graduate student. Through a network of hidden cameras disguised as innocent roadside mushrooms, the rotund scientist had mapped every predictable pattern in Sonic's life, from his preferred napping spots to his inexplicable fear of running through puddles on Tuesdays. The trap was elegant in its simplicity. Eggman had replaced every chili dog vendor in a 50-mile radius with his own robotic duplicates, each programmed to serve hot dogs infused with a special ingredient, concentrated essence of sloth. Not the deadly sin variety, mind you, but actual biological material extracted from the world's most lethargic three-toed sloths. Processed through 17 different chemical filters and somehow made even slower in the process. Sonic noticed something was amiss around his 12th chili dog when his usual inhaling technique, a feat that involved consuming an entire hot dog in 0.3 seconds, began to slow. By the 15th dog, he was actually chewing, a sensation so foreign that he briefly wondered if he'd accidentally swallowed his own tongue. By the 17th, he was moving at what normal creatures might consider a reasonable jogging pace, which for Sonic felt like being trapped in amber. The realization hit him with all the subtlety of a badnik collision. His legendary speed, the one thing that defined his entire existence, was seeping away like water through a poorly constructed dam. Panic would have been the appropriate response, but panic required a certain velocity of thought that Sonic could no longer achieve. Instead, he experienced something closer to a leisurely concern, the emotional equivalent of mild disappointment at a rained-out picnic. Meanwhile, in Chemical Plant Zone, Tails had been conducting experiments on his latest invention, a device capable of detecting temporal anomalies in the fabric of reality. The machine, which looked suspiciously like a modified toaster with 17 antennae, had been beeping frantically for the past hour. Each beep corresponded to a moment when time itself seemed to hiccup, as if the universe were experiencing a mild case of existential indigestion. The fox's twin tails spun anxiously as he cross-referenced the temporal readings with weather patterns, lunar phases, and his secret database of Sonic's behavioral quirks. The correlation was unmistakable. Every anomaly coincided perfectly with locations where Sonic typically consumed his morning chili dogs. Either his best friend had developed the ability to bend space-time through sheer gastrointestinal force, or something far more sinister was at play. In Angel Island, Knuckles was experiencing his own crisis. The Master Emerald, that massive green crystal he'd sworn to protect with his life, had begun to glow with an intensity that suggested either impending cosmic catastrophe or really aggressive mood lighting. Worse still, it was humming. Not the peaceful, meditative hum of universal harmony, but something that sounded distinctly like elevator music, played at half speed. The echidna's considerable fists clenched as he realized the implications. The Master Emerald's power was somehow being drained, siphoned away by an unknown force that operated with all the finesse of a cosmic vacuum cleaner. His first instinct was to punch something, preferably something connected to the problem. But the Master Emerald's listless humming was having an oddly sedating effect on his usual righteous anger. Back in Green Hill Zone, Sonic had made the executive decision to seek help. A choice that would have taken him approximately 0.02 seconds under normal circumstances, but now required nearly 3 full minutes of careful deliberation. His journey to find Tails, normally a blur of blue across the landscape, became an almost meditative stroll through familiar terrain he'd never had time to properly appreciate. He noticed things. The way morning dew collected on the edges of checkered soil patterns, how flickies sang in harmonies that changed depending on the time of day, the fact that those loop-de-loops he'd been racing through for years were actually decorated with intricate geometric patterns that told the story of some ancient civilization. It was beautiful, peaceful even, but also terrifying in its wrongness. The convergence happened in Marble Zone, where Tails' temporal readings had led him, where Knuckles had followed the Master Emerald's weakening pulse, and where Sonic had arrived after what felt like geological ages of concerned ambling. The three friends found themselves standing before an enormous machine that defied both physics and good taste. A baroque contraption of brass pipes, crystal lenses, and what appeared to be a disco ball, all connected to a massive chili dog dispenser. Dr. Eggman emerged from behind the machine with the theatrical flair of a magician revealing his greatest trick. His mustache bristled with barely contained glee as he explained, without being asked, that his temporal deceleration engine was powered by the stolen speed of the fastest hedgehog alive, amplified through the Master Emerald's energy, and distributed through a network of drugged chili dogs that had taken him 3 years to perfect. The plan was characteristically overcomplicated. Slow down Sonic, drain the Master Emerald, use the combined energy to power a time dilation field that would give Eggman centuries to build his robot empire, while everyone else experienced life at the speed of continental drift. It was ambitious, scientifically dubious, and exactly the sort of scheme that explained why he'd been trying to conquer the world for decades without success. But Eggman had made one crucial miscalculation. In his obsessive focus on Sonic's speed, he'd overlooked the Hedgehog's other defining characteristic: his ability to inspire others to exceed their own limitations. Tails felt it first, a familiar surge of determination that had nothing to do with velocity and everything to do with friendship. His twin tails began spinning faster than the machine's calculations could account for. Knuckles experienced it as a restoration of his bond with the Master Emerald, a connection that transcended the physical siphoning of energy. The Great Crystal responded to his renewed determination by pulsing with power that the temporal deceleration engine couldn't absorb fast enough. And Sonic, moving slower than he ever had in his adult life, discovered something remarkable. Speed wasn't just about physical velocity. It was about the quickness of wit that let him spot the machine's obvious off switch. The rapid-fire creativity that suggested 17 different ways to destroy an overcomplicated contraption. And the swift decision-making that chose the most satisfying option, letting Knuckles punch it really, really hard. The machine's destruction created a temporal shockwave that restored everyone's proper relationship with time and space. Sonic's speed returned in a rush that felt like being struck by lightning made of pure caffeination. The Master Emerald resumed its peaceful humming. Eggman was launched skyward by his own exploding invention, a trajectory that would give him plenty of time to contemplate the flaws in his plan during his descent. As the dust settled, Sonic realized he'd learned something important about the nature of his own abilities. Though he couldn't quite articulate what it was, instead, he did what he did best. He ran. Faster than before, leaving behind only the echo of his laughter and the faint aroma of 17 different varieties of chili dog seasoning mixing with the sweet air of Green Hill Zone. The morning routine would continue tomorrow, but perhaps with a bit more attention to the journey between one loop-de-loop and the next.